Hey everyone, Ryan from Ebike Escape, and today we're checking out the Ride1Up Core-5 step-through. Now the Core-5 is almost the most affordable electric bike that Ride1Up offers. They also offer the Roadster V2, which is a single-speed electric bike at $995. The Core-5 comes in at $1095. This is the most affordable electric bike that I've reviewed, so I wanted to see what you get for the price. If you are looking to purchase any of the Ride1Up models and you want to support what I'm doing at Ebike Escape, please use the link in the description before making a purchase. All right, with that, let's get into testing out the Core-5 step-through. So with this review, I thought it would be interesting to put our Ride1Up Limited next to the Core-5 just to give you a little bit better idea of the different frame styles if you're looking at these electric bikes. The biggest selling point, of course, of the Core-5 is its price, coming in at $1095. And this is kind of the point where I don't look as much at electric bikes at below the $1,000, I would say, price point, because it seems like you're just giving up way too much when it comes down to quality. The only exception to this perhaps might be the electric XP, but of course those frames are quite a bit different from these more standard bike frames that you see here. And I think a lot of people looking at the Core-5, they're probably also looking at perhaps the Rad Mission, which is also a city bike. The main benefit is going to be the addition of gears. I like to tell people, if you think at all that you might need gears with your electric bike, then you probably do need them. So this has a 7-speed derailleur, and I think that's going to be a big selling point, and it's only $100 more than the Rad Power Bike's Rad Mission. And what I really like about specifically both the Limited and the Core-5 is the integrated batteries. You can see the Limited doesn't have the battery in, but you can see the Core-5. It is nicely integrated into the frame. A lot of people wouldn't even know that you're riding an electric bike. Okay, so now let's talk about some of the components. Starting up front, we obviously have the rigid fork, and this is one of the reasons that I wanted to compare the 500 series to the Core-5, is the fact that with the 500 series you do get a suspension fork and then you get a slightly bigger battery, so I'll be curious to compare the two. The other thing that you should note is this doesn't have a quick release, and so while for security that might be good, it's just something to be aware of. You're not going to be able to remove your front tire quite as easily as a quick release. The Core-5 sports 27.5-inch tires by 2.2 inches. And then moving on to the brakes, the Core-5 has 160 millimeter rotors. These are Tektro mechanical disc brakes, and pretty standard for what you get in a budget electric bike. Of course, a lot of electric bikes in the higher price points have bigger rotors. 180 is the most standard that I see. This is a class 3 electric bike, you can see there. So you are able to get this up to 28 miles per hour with pedaling. Moving on to the cockpit here. The bike sports a pretty simple black and white display, but what I do like about this bike is it does tell you the wattage output. So there's nothing missing in my opinion. Of course, it's not as nice as some of the color displays that you can get, but for the price, it works just fine. And then of course here you have the left thumb throttle. That's the same thumb throttle that you'll find on, I believe, all of the Ride1Up electric bikes. Shimano 7-speed shifter here, just very simple. And this bike does have the motor cutoff switches, so if you press a brake, it's going to immediately disengage the power to that motor. And so as far as the battery goes, I talked a little bit how it's integrated. This is a 10.4 amp hour battery. The Ride1Up Limited comes with a 14 amp hour battery. And as far as frame design goes, you can see that the battery comes down a little bit further on the Limited. And then on the Core-5, Ride1Up has this additional reinforcement here. Because this is a step-through model, you should be aware that step-through models are just not as rigid as a high-step model that has that top bar. So something to be aware of, but of course the accessibility, if this helps you get on an electric bike, I still think it's a no-brainer. Just something more to be aware of. The other neat thing that I like is the bottle cage bosses. Because of this piece here, I can't imagine you're going to have any issues removing the battery if you have a water bottle here. On the Limited, you can see that I have a bike pump mounted there, and that's because it's just too annoying to have a standard bottle cage mount there, because I found when I was removing the battery, it would consistently hit the bottle cage. So really like that. As far as the pedals go, this is something I would almost certainly put on new pedals. I really have been enjoying these pedals that Half Knee sent me. They're not yet available for everyone, but there's tons of different options on Amazon. I like the metal type with the spikes coming out. Of course, you need to be careful of your shins, but everyone that has ridden my electric bikes really appreciates the extra grip. And you can see here that the pedal is just able to clear the kickstand. You do have to angle it just slightly, but I do like that they have already moved the kickstand back on this bike. On my Limited, it is definitely in the way, and of course that's something they already made an update to with the Limited. And I should mention, the way you see the Core-5 here is the way you'll receive it. The only exception to that is going to be this Core-5 rack that I have installed here. You can purchase that separately from Ride1Up. You can also purchase fenders. One of the highlights of the Core-5 is, from my understanding, you're getting the exact same motor that's on the 500 series, that's also on the 700 series, which is their $1,500 model. And so they definitely haven't skimped on the motor, and hopefully you'll be able to tell in the upcoming riding footage. And then the rear derailleur, you can see they're using Shimano Altus. It's something that you see on a lot of electric bikes around this price point. I do like that Ride1Up includes this clear plastic tape to prevent any damage to your frame with the chain. The bike, as you can see, comes with the same seat that is on the Ride1Up Limited. Again, another thing that I see people upgrade quite a bit, looking for additional comfort. You could also put a suspension seat post if you'd like. This is a 30.4 millimeter seat post, so if you're looking for suspension seat posts, that's the size you'll need. Of course, you can also buy shims. And Ride1Up is focusing on a more comfortable riding style for these step-through bikes. So you'll see that they have these swept back handlebars, a little bit more upright riding position that some people prefer. And you can see here, I do have a little bit more work to do on the cable management to make it look a little bit nicer. But where the cables come in, Ride1Up now includes this rubber piece, so it protects any water or anything else from getting inside your frame. So that covers all of the specifications that I wanted to go through related to the Core-5. In my upcoming riding footage, I talk a little bit more about my recommendation and hopefully give you some things to think about if you're considering the Core-5 electric bike. So without a doubt, one of the biggest features of the Core-5 is Ride1Up has definitely not skimped on the motor. So I wanted to showcase that first. Hopefully you can see my speedometer here. It's the Android app Cool Speedometer by Cool Nix. And so first I'm going to do a throttle only test. Hopefully you get an idea of how fast this is. It'll top us out at about 20 miles per hour. So here we go, starting from a standstill. And just like that, we're at 20. And it'll hold us at 20, just like that. Okay, so this is a class 3 electric bike. So the throttle kicks off at 20 miles per hour, but it is capable of speeds up to 28 miles per hour. I'm going to go through all the pedal assist levels. I'm in 6th gear now. I'm going to shift up to 7th gear, and then you should be able to get an idea of just how fast you can go on this electric bike, and as well as the different pedal assist levels. So right now I'm in pedal assist 1. Use a little throttle to get going. All right, 7th gear, pedal assist 1, definitely working. It's going about 14. All right, let's go to pedal assist 2. Keep in mind I'm in 7th gear. This is the common gear that we ride on our e-bikes. Morning. All right, pedal assist 2, going about 18, 16. All right, pedal assist 3, and it is pretty windy, so that is probably having an impact, but the battery is almost nearly fully charged. So I'm getting closer to the 20 miles per hour. It's going to pedal assist 4. Still pushing pretty hard on the pedals. 22. Going 24. Pedal assist 5. And I would say I'm working pretty hard. 26. 28. So the bike is clearly capable of hitting the max speed, although you will need to help it quite a bit. So I hope that gives you a little bit better idea of what you can expect out of this motor. Okay, so now I'm going to put you right next to the motor. This motor that they are using from Shangy is a little bit quieter than some of the motors, definitely quieter than the Limited that I have. So let's check it out. The high step or standard frame Core-5 came out in earlier 2020, and the step-through variation is a more recent addition to the lineup. Ride1Up now offers step-through variations in all but one model, the Roadster V2 that I mentioned earlier. The most recent step-through variation offered by Ride1Up is the Limited, which is an e-bike that I have covered quite extensively on this YouTube channel. I wanted to review the step-through variation since this feature can make a big difference in whether someone can easily hop on an e-bike. I can't stress this enough. Everyone that has test rode this Core-5 has been impressed, and I expect many people are going to opt for step-through variations in whatever electric bike that they choose. The Core-5 step-through is recommended for riders 5 feet to 6 feet tall, whereas the standard frame is from 5 feet 5 inches to 6 feet 4. For context, I am 6 feet tall, and while I was able to comfortably ride the bike and get full leg extension, I can imagine that anyone taller might want to look at some of the other step-through bikes that Ride1Up offers with their different geometries. For shorter riders, this most definitely won't be an intimidating ride, and I'm excited to see how it compares to the 500 series in a couple weeks. One of the points that I wanted to get across in this review is don't let the price of this electric bike scare you away. If you're new to e-bikes or you're on a budget, this is still a great e-bike. Perhaps you don't know how much you'll ride a bike and you haven't been on even a regular bike in quite some time. This is a great way to test out an electric bike. I could also see it as a second e-bike you might leave at a vacation home to share with your friends and family. The two biggest things you're giving up compared to, for instance, the 500 series is the front suspension and the slightly larger battery, and battery sizes go up from there. While I don't have any solid data, my guess is that many people purchasing electric bikes today are more casual riders and don't get anywhere near depleting their batteries on a single ride. Of course, there are exceptions to this. My wife and I and now our son use electric bikes quite extensively and put range to the test. If you've ridden an e-bike with a rigid fork, you know exactly what kind of ride to expect with the Core-5 step-through. If you're riding on paved trails and thus don't need front suspension, then the Core-5 is a perfect choice in my opinion. You can always upgrade to a suspension seat post, an accessory which I highly recommend. One of the benefits to the simplicity of the Core-5 is the lightweight. In my unscientific test, I weighed the bike at 51 pounds, which included that rear rack that you see in the video. This can make a big difference when it comes to being comfortable on an e-bike, and I've seen far too many posts where people find their heavier e-bikes unwieldy. Whichever e-bike you decide, be sure to check out the weight and, of course, test ride if at all possible. So in my opinion, the Core-5 strikes a perfect balance of still being an e-bike that will accomplish what many people will use it for, while not compromising too much on components. When you look at sub $1,000 electric bikes, you tend to see a sharp drop-off, whether it be a 36-volt system, perhaps not true name brand cells like Ride1Up is using in the Core-5, these LG cells, or perhaps even more disappointing, a less powerful motor which might not be enough to get you up hills, one of the main benefits of owning an electric bike. Of course, if you spend more, you're going to get some of the nicer features like larger brake rotors, larger battery, the front suspension, a color LCD, and of course, hydraulic disc brakes. But if you're dreaming of a still plenty fast Class 3 e-bike, then the Core-5 might just be the electric bike for you. I personally haven't found any e-bike that I'd rather have for $1,100, and in my experience, Ride1Up is among the companies that really strives to serve their customers post-purchase. If you don't believe me, check out their Facebook group. I hope you enjoyed this review of the Ride1Up Core-5 step-through. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. And if you want to support what I'm doing with Ebike Escape, I'll have links in the description to my electric bike deals page as well as my electric bike accessories list. Of course, there's tons of more information on my website, and there'll be more upcoming videos. I will be reviewing the Ride1Up 500 series step through in the next few weeks, so stay tuned. Thanks again for watching.